Hello, I'd like to introduce a short lesson for you on the step one guitar chords. So step one is the first stage in the LCM or RGT acoustic guitar syllabus. So it's designed for complete beginners, and you build on it progressively, and obviously to strengthen your chord knowledge. So in step one, we are going to be looking at four different chord shapes: C major, G major, A minor, and E minor. And each chord has a chord symbol, which is on the slide in bold. So the C major chord has a capital C, the G major has a capital G, the A minor chord has a capital A followed by a lowercase m for the minor, and the E minor chord has a capital E followed by a lowercase m for the E minor. So I believe the first chord I'm going to show you is the C major chord. So let's open this first table here. So what we have here are the notes of a C major scale. They're like the musical alphabet, and you'll notice that I put a number 1 under the C. I put a capital M and a 3 beside the E, and a number 5 by the G. So this relates to the root of the chord, which is C, the major third, that's why it's a capital M for the E, and the fifth of the chord, which is the G. Because we've got major chord, the M is a capital. You may notice in the symbol it doesn't pop up, only in the intervals on the table, which is fine. So next table I open up is the G major chord. Here we've got the G becomes the tonic or the root instead of the C. The major third is again a capital M, it's a B, and that's the B note. And then the perfect fifth is the D, or the fifth note. So this is G major. The next chord is A minor. So here we have A as our tonic. We have C as the minor third, and you'll probably notice the difference here. You've got a lowercase m, and hopefully you can see the correlation between the lowercase m for the minor third and also the chord symbol where it's A and then lowercase m. Then we've got the fifth, which is E. And then finally for the E minor chord, it's the same principle. We've got the E as our tonic, we've got the G as our minor third, it's a minor chord, and we've got B for our perfect fifth. So we'll move on to the next slide. So with our fretting hand, our left hand, our little finger is, that's a right hand, but anyway, our little finger of our left hand is number 4. Our ring finger is number 3, middle finger is number 2, and our index finger is number 1. Each chord, we're going to start with like what's called a 3-string voicing, so we're only using the first 3 strings of the guitar, the strings G, B, and E. And yeah, so we're going to start with the E minor chord because there's no frets involved. So it's string G, string B, and string E. So it's, I would say, probably the easiest chord to play on the guitar because it doesn't require you to press any frets. So that's the E minor chord. The next easiest chord, or one of them, is probably the G major chord. And here we have string G, we have string B, we have string E on fret 3, and also by chance we're going to be using the ring finger to play the chord. So the temptation might be to use one of the other fingers. It's recommended you use the third finger for the G chord. We'll now move to the C major chord, and this is going to have string G, string B on fret 1, and then also string E open. And this string B on fret 1 is going to be played with the index finger on the first fret. And then we get to the A minor chord. We've got to use 2 fingers. It's the trickiest of the 4. We're going to keep our index finger on string B on fret 1, but then we're going to also add our third finger onto fret 2 of string G. In fact, actually, it's quite good to be able to play this chord using our third finger on string G fret 2, but also our middle finger on string G fret 2. So this is a bit of a challenge, and it's going to help us for the next slide. So with this A minor chord, I'd kind of challenge you to play it with 3 different finger combinations. The first one would be with the first finger on string B fret 1, and the middle finger, the second finger on string G fret 2. The second variation will be playing with string, first finger on string B fret 1 again, but this time using the third finger on string G fret 2. And then the last way would be actually starting with the middle finger on string G, middle finger on string B fret 1, and then the third finger on string G fret 2. So that's quite a lot to take on board, but there's 3 different ways finger combinations we can use for the A minor chord, which brings us to the final slide, which is the 6-string voicings up. So they're probably the more common ones, but they're quite challenging. So with the E minor chord, we have string A on fret 2 with the middle finger, and string D on fret 2 with the ring finger, and that's one way of playing E minor. An alternative way we can play it is with the index finger on string A fret 2 and the middle finger on string D fret 2. It's a common chord to start with because the 2 fingers are adjacent or they're next to each other, so it's not too big a stretch. It's quite good. If we then move to the A minor chords, if you remember, we said it was 3 ways of playing that on the previous slide. So we're going to use the methods where we have our index finger on string B fret 1, and then we're going to have our third finger on string G fret 2. And the reason why is then we're going to take our middle finger, it's going to go onto string D, the 4th string D fret 2, so it's actually going to sit on top. And then it's going to create our A minor chord. And you're probably worth mentioning on the A minor chord, we miss out the thickest string of the guitar, the bass string, and that's why we don't muddy the sound. Then we go to the chord G, and I remember when we talked about the different shapes of the A minor chord. Well, we have this similar diagonal line on the low bass strings of the G chord. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use your index finger on string A fret 2, our middle finger on the low bass string of E fret 3, so we're creating a diagonal line, and then we're going to kind of create a big stretch where our ring finger goes all the way to the finished string of the high E on fret 3. So you have a really wide stretch now between the second finger and the third finger. It is definitely a challenge. Some quick tips for this is don't over grip the guitar. Try and keep the angle of the neck of the guitar pointing slightly up. So it's not like a horizontal line, it's pointing slightly up, kind of that way. And then, that will help. Excuse me. So the final chord is C major. Here we're going to take, when we talked about our 3 shapes for A minor, we're going to take our middle finger and we're going to play string D fret 2. And we're going to play the A string on string A fret 3. So that's that diagonal line. And then we're going to take our index finger and play that on string B fret 1.